Hello there, fellow shredders. Today we're doing something a bit different. I'd like to spend some quality time together with you today, songwriting, recording and mixing just a little bit in Cubase. You guys and girls voted for the topic of writing, recording and mixing a metal song in 15 minutes, so pretty fast. And on the additional voting concerning the style of the music in the Patreon Facebook group, you voted for Neoclassical metal. So grab your favorite drink and get comfortable with me in the home studio together. Let's write, record and mix a Neoclassical metal song as fast as possible. Alright, as you can see, I just recently updated to Cubase 11 and I already have one audio track that I'm just gonna call Rec. And I also have to make sure that my hair doesn't get in the way, which is very important for getting a clean signal. So that's my guitar. And for the drums, we're going with the Invasion drum kit I recently got from GGD. It sounds really, really cool. And let's just go with the default kit. So I honestly didn't prepare anything for this session. It's gonna be really spontaneous. So my experience with neoclassical shredding and metal was always kind of learning classical pieces and then playing them with distorted guitar, I guess. But for today's video, we want to quickly come up with our own song. So let's just go with 120 beats per minute for this composition. And I think I want to go with triplets for that one. I can already hear the kind of arpeggios in my mind. And what I like to do first, before I start just recording guitars to a click, is just get some really basic drums done. That way I just have a rhythmic foundation for my piece of music and it's a little bit more fun, of course, to record to drums. And I get really, really picky with my takes. And when you're just recording to the click, you always hear some tiny elements that you're not really happy with. And you might not even end up hearing those tiny details in the final mix or when you play it with drums or with bass. So let's get some double bass going, maybe in eighth note triplets. Or yeah, maybe we should immediately go with 16th note triplets since it's gonna be shreddy. Okay, that sounds good. Sounds pretty tight. So right in eighth note triplets with the bell on the accents. Yeah, and the snare on 2 and 4. So let's see what we can come up with in terms of chords and cadences over that idea. Yeah, that is pretty much the typical idea when you quickly want to go for a classical or neoclassical sound, to go for a 5-1 cadence. In this example, since I want this to be, I guess, in E minor, I would go with the harmonic minor approach so that we can have a dominant 7th chord in the 5th scale degree, still resolving to a minor chord. So that would be B dominant 7th chord, going into an E minor chord, and that somehow really sounds like classical music. And I don't know right now if that's too kind of jazzy or too bluesy for me, that dominant 7th voicing, or if I should just go for something like that. Maybe that sounds a bit more metal, but I also want to go along with the double bass here to really lock in with that. So I guess I'm gonna play a tremolo riff, so maybe going from the root up to the, maybe just keeping it on one string, on the A string. Something like. Let me think of something real quick with played in triplets. Yeah, something like that. So when I record ideas like that, I can just loop the section and press record and get a couple of takes. Okay, so warming up before this recording would have been great, but now my right hand feels ready. And the cool thing about that is that Cubase is actually storing those ideas. So I can just take two takes that I liked, and pan them left and right. Yes. So when I'm recording a pre-production and I just have to move quickly this works pretty well. So when you record 2 guitar tracks for left and right, as you usually do, and you keep cycling the riff all over again until you get 2 takes that you really liked in a row, you can make sure that the picking attack and that the dynamics are pretty much the same, because you're using the same take, but you're using take A and B at the ending of the take. In the very beginning, I made the mistake of recording one side completely and then recording the next side. And at some point, maybe your picking angle changes a bit, maybe you're a bit more exhausted at the ending of the session and you don't hit as hard anymore. So it sounds kind of inconsistent with the left and the right track. And this is a great way of avoiding that. And I sadly don't really have a good bass guitar here at the moment, so we're gonna program the bass. Please don't kill me, bass players out there. Absolutely nothing replaces a good bass player, that's for sure. And I'm using the Panda bass plugin for this. Let's see if it's okay if it's just playing B and E. Yeah, I think it's enough for now. We should keep moving. Right now I would see this more as a pre-production and not as a final recording, so just preparing ideas. So you can just duplicate that, for example, if you want that part to be played twice. And I think up next, maybe we're playing over the same part again, but we're adding a guitar solo. So I will loop the take once again right now. Maybe just to keep it a bit more interesting, we're switching from right to hi-hat, just a small measure of introducing a bit of change to keep things interesting. Yeah, and as you can hear, the dynamics are not that great. Of course, also nothing can replace a real drummer. I'm sorry that I say it this late in the video. Maybe just turn the drums up a little bit. And another important thing just happened. I didn't save my project at all. So please be smarter than me. So now I'll try out some arpeggio ideas over that. And I'm using a different pickup for that, so that the guitar sounds a bit different for the arpeggios. It's going to be easier to mix. Okay. Something like that. Now I just have to get a better take. And what I was struggling with right now is the snare. I couldn't really get tight accents to focus on. So when I'm performing sweep picking sections like that, I can't really focus on every single note anymore. So I need those reference points that I often talked about to hear that the arpeggio is played in time. So what I did right now is I just turned up the snare a little bit, just in the MIDI track. That would be obviously too loud, probably too loud for the mix, but right now it really helps me with staying in time and playing that in time. Okay, so as you can hear, I played around with that one a little bit more to get something a little bit less generic for that part. So that's our short arpeggio part. And of course, when we move from one part into the next part, we also need a fill just to lead us into that part. Drummers don't hate on me. I don't have that much time to be creative right now. We're just going with 16th note triplets and super short tom fill. Where are my toms? So just to lead into that part, and of course here we need an accent, big crash. And right now I'm thinking maybe we need an intro for that, where we just have these big accents, that kind of 5-1 cadence, just going from going for, yeah, 2 cymbals right here, and then just counting on the hi-hat maybe. Yeah. And then, once again, a short fill that is kind of already predicting the 16th note triplets. I'm gonna go for something really simple with the rhythm guitars for this part. Okay. Now I didn't loop it for the second take because I forgot, but when I record the second take on top of a take that I already have, so for the other side, I'm usually muting that track. There are a lot of guitar players that prefer playing to one side that is actually recorded already, but to me that's always a bit distracting. So let's get the other side real quick. 2, 3, 4. And of course, we also need our bass, and maybe we're already working with eighth notes. Yeah, just going from B to E. And right here we have a quick pattern of 16th note triplets. Okay, so that's the intro, and maybe we're gonna do a little bit of lead guitars over the intro to make it a bit more interesting than just those power chords. Let me see what I can come up with. Yeah, okay, I think we're gonna have to go with a bit of shredding right here. Let me try a couple of different things. So I tried out a couple of different things, and I kind of like this idea most. So it's just a run in triplets in the E harmonic minor scale, so I'm already using that kind of suspenseful sound. And it also doesn't hurt to be dramatic in the beginning and move right up to the highest note that I could play. That's also the root in this case, to E on the 24th fret. And I'm also doing some crazy stuff with my whammy bar. So let's listen to what we have so far, like intro, main riff, and that kind of arpeggiated lead solo. Okay, doesn't sound too bad. It's just a rough idea, so to say, that would go into my pre-production folder where I'm constantly gathering ideas for songs and also for videos. But I think the time limit is really rough here, so before we record more solos and more parts, maybe let's look into making this sound a little bit better. So I definitely don't consider myself a professional audio engineer. I pretty much just want my videos to sound relatively good so that you enjoy watching them. So right now I just created a group for the rhythm guitars. So I'm looping that and I'm just using a bit of EQ. And all I do, just roll off some low end. And usually right here around 150 to 200 Hertz is usually a problem area. And then I do some mirror EQing, as I learned from Daniel in the studio episode, lowering 1.5 kilohertz just a little bit so that I can accent it with my guitar solo, so that it cuts through the mix a little bit better. So really subtle change and really just cleaning up the signal a little bit. And now for the solo, I already have some delay on there. I'm also just rolling off some low ends. Let's take a listen once again. So really boxy frequency right here once again. I'm just accenting the area around 1.5 kilohertz to make it cut through the mix. So I think you can hear the difference with that. And then for the MIDI bass, there's also plenty you can do with that, since it basically sounds like a DI track. But before the bass players kill me for sending this through a guitar amp or through massive distortion or anything like that, let's just leave it at that for now. When it comes to the drums, you can actually route all of those individual channels out into Cubase, like separating the kick, snare, the toms, overhead and all of that stuff, and do further processing, and we can look into that in a different video. I think we're running out of time on this one. And for the last detail, the so-called mastering, I don't even want to call it that way, I'm using the isotope Ozone 5. Now let's listen to the final recording real quick together. Alright, thanks a lot for watching this video. That was a lot of fun for me to make. It's always great when I also get to be creative in these videos, aside from talking about exercises, theory concepts and all of that stuff, although I love that as well, of course. Let me know in the lesson votings on Patreon if you should do that more often, and if you would like to decide on the next music style. We're having a voting, of course, in the Secret Inner Circle Facebook group on Patreon. So thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you had a lot of fun with this one. See you next time.